The Society of the Spectacle is a 1967 work of Marxist theory by the French philosopher Guy Debord. Debord had been an early member of the lettrist movement in the 1950s and the founder of Situationism, whose manifesto Report on the Construction of Situations appeared in 1957. It called for the creation of passional situations, roughly culturally shocking events with a strong performative element, as a way of waking people up to the pervasive alienation that modern capitalism now supposedly produces as a kind of soporific. The Society of the Spectacle, written a decade after that manifesto, presents an equal and opposite version of the spectacle. The spectacle in this work is something created by advanced capitalism as a sort of totalized projection of the fetishized commodity. Spectators, he tells us in chapter 1, are linked solely by their one-way relationship to the very centre that keeps them isolated from each other. Debord became a central figure in the civil unrest in France in May 1968, following the failure of which he became a relative recluse. He took his own life in 1994 following a diagnosis of polyneuritis, an inflammation of the nerves brought on probably in his case by excessive alcohol consumption. The Society of the Spectacle draws on Ludwig Feuerbach's 1841 The Essence of Christianity and Karl Marx's 1844 Economic and Philosophical manuscripts, but it also anticipates Jean Baudrillard's notion of hyperreality, without, however, abandoning, as Baudrillard did, the idea of objective truth. It's a relatively short book of 9 titled chapters, the whole of which is divided into 221 numbered subsections. The first 3 chapters are the best known, probably because they most explicitly present the situationist philosophy in all its distinctiveness. The spectacle is capital accumulated to the point that it becomes images, Debord tells us. The commodity is the materialized illusion, of which the spectacle is the general expression. There's an oracular flavour to much of this section, which makes it extremely quotable, and of course useful for generating slogans. The following 6 chapters are often overlooked, but they develop a fairly profound theory of history and a critique of culture, and they support, contextualise and extend the superficially gnomic early sections. They're arguably indispensable to a proper understanding of the book as a whole and of situationism as a movement. Chapter 4, The Proletariat as Subject and Representation, is a comprehensive attack on all previous Marxism, in which even Marx himself doesn't escape censure. It has no time at all for Russian or Chinese Marxism. Its overall aim is probably to underline situationism's claims to originality. Chapters 5 and 6 develop a general theory of history in which the central focus is the opposition between cyclical history and linear history. The latter only emerges gradually of the ruling classes and only comes to predominate with the rise of the bourgeoisie. However, with the emergence of the spectacle in the modern era, we find ourselves living through a third type of history, pseudo-cyclical history, in which commodities are endlessly generated but to no ultimate purpose, in which the process of their creation isn't leading anywhere. Pseudo-entities predominate in this era, and they take centre stage in Chapter 7. Debord presents us with a variety of pseudo-prefixed phenomena: touristic pseudo-travel, pseudo-valorization, pseudo-individualization, and pseudo-festivals, to name but a few. And it's in discussing these that he most closely foreshadows Baudrillard. Replace pseudo with hyper, and you're almost there. Both thinkers identify an entire superstructural pretend world whose chief purpose is to fascinate and mollify. Under pseudo-cyclical history, the revolutionary energy associated with urban centres gradually dissipates as they all transform into enervated town-country hybrids. The penultimate chapter is a critique of culture in which Debord claims that art, in the sense of genuine creative endeavour, ended with Dada and Surrealism. Nowadays we have spectacular art, which can be seen principally in galleries and which is the abstract sum of all the genuine art ever produced, exhibited for our edification like a corpse on a table. As culture becomes completely commodified, Debord tells us, it tends to become the star commodity of spectacular society. The book's final chapter deals with ideology. The Spectacle is the acme of ideology, Debord tells us, because it fully exposes and manifests the essence of all ideological systems, the impoverishment, enslavement, and negation of real life. I do think that The Society of the Spectacle is an underrated text, along with the thought of Guy Debord generally. John Lectie's now classic 1994 text, 50 Key Contemporary Thinkers, doesn't include him, but it's not alone in that regard. My guess is that too many people have read chapters 1 to 3 and then stopped. If I have one criticism, it's that the complexity of our predicament as Debord presents it is so tortuous that it's difficult to see how we can proceed beyond it, much less who can be trusted to lead us there. The workers would probably be Debord's response, but I'm not even sure what that means anymore. Of course, you might well disagree.